Hello and welcome to today's video. Today's sixth grade math video is going to be focusing on multiplication with decimals. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, a lot of times when you are multiplying decimals, what you want to do is completely ignore the decimals to start. Pretend they're not there. Then we're going to go ahead and multiply this using the standard algorithm like we normally would. So instead of 8.7 times 2.5, we're going to do the work as if it's 87 times 25. So I'm going to go ahead and put 87 here and 25 here. Okay, so again, this is using the standard algorithm. So if you use another method to multiply, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and do that. Okay, so 7 times 5 is 35. So I'd put the 5 here and regroup the 3. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 3 would be 43. So this would be a 3, and this would be a 4. Now for my second row, since I'm now done multiplying everything by 5, I'm going to cross it off. I'm also going to cross off this little number up here because if I need to regroup again, I don't want to be confused about which number to add. And I'm going to put a 0 down here to represent the fact that now we're multiplying by the 2, which is in the tens place. So 2 times 7 is 14. So I'm going to put a 4 here and regroup that 1 up here. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 is 17. So a 7 here and a 1 here. All right, now that I'm done multiplying, I'm going to go ahead and add those partial products together. I would get a 5 here, a 7 here, 11 here, and a 2 here. So my answer would be 20 or 2,175. But because our original problem had decimals, this is where the decimal part comes in. So after I'm done multiplying, I'm going to add a decimal to the end of my answer. Then I'm going to move that decimal to the left, the same number of spaces as there are decimals in my original problem. So in my original problem, I had a 5 in the tens place and a 7 in the tens place. So I had 2 digits that were in decimal place values. So I'm going to be moving the decimal for the answer 2 places to the left and putting it right in between the 21 and the 75. So my final answer here would be 21.75. Okay, here's our next one. We're going to take 0.92 times 7.7. So again, what I'm going to do is ignore the decimals for now and just multiply those two numbers. So instead of 0.92, I'm going to multiply 92. And then instead of 7.7, I'm going to write that as 77. Okay, and again, I'm going to use a standard algorithm here to multiply, but if you have another method that works for you, like a box model that works for you or partial products, please feel free to go ahead and use it. 2 times 7 is 14, so I'd put the 4 here and regroup the 1. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 1 is 64, so 64 would be here. Now I'm done multiplying by this first 7, so I'm going to cross it off. I'm also going to cross off this 1 in case I need to regroup again, but I absolutely must add a 0 down here to show the fact that now I'm multiplying by a digit that is in the tens place. That's the 7 of 77. 2 times 4 is, or 2 times 7 is 14. And what you may have noticed here is now I'm multiplying by 7 again. So I should end up, since I'm multiplying 92 by 7 again, I should end up with the same 644. It's just going to be moved over one place value. So I could go ahead and put the 4 here, the 4 here, and the 6 here. But if you want to go ahead and multiply it out just to make sure, you can totally do that. Okay, so 4 times 0, or 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 6 plus 4 is 10, so we'd have a 0 here and regroup that 1. And 1 plus 6 is 7. So after I'm done multiplying, I end up with 7,084. Now I have to go back and deal with the decimals. So I'm going to put a decimal after my multiplication answer, and I need to move it to the left, the same number of spaces as there were decimals in my problem. So in my original problem, I had 1, 2, 3 digits that were in decimal place values. That means I need to move this decimal for the answer 1, 2, 3 spaces to the left and put it right there. So my final answer here would be 7.084. Okay, here is my next one. It's 4.97 times 6.1. Okay, So I'm going to go ahead and ignore those decimals to start and set up my standard algorithm multiplication. Now, in the past two, both numbers were double digits when I did that, so it didn't really matter which one I put on top. For this one, since when I remove the decimals, 4.97 becomes 497 and 6.1 becomes 61, I want to put that 3-digit number on top since it has more digits than the second number, which would be 61. So let's go ahead and write that. 497 times 61. And I realize I'm kind of multiplying a little bit quickly, but that's okay. If you feel like you need more practice with multiplication, either in the standard algorithm or in a different method, check out some of my other videos involving multiplication with whole numbers. And then in those videos, I go dive a little bit deeper into that process. Okay, so 7 times 1 is 7, 9 times 1 is 9, and 4 times 1 is 4. Okay, so I've multiplied everything by 1. I'm going to cross off the 1. I don't have any numbers or little numbers on top to cross off. But now I'm going to add a 0 here to show that I'm now multiplying by a number that is in the tens place, and that's the 6 of 61. 7 times 6 is 42, so I have to leave a 2 here and regroup the 4. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 4 would be 58. So I have to put an 8 here and regroup a 5 up here. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 5 would be 29. So a 9 here and a 2 here. Okay, now I just have to add those all up. This would be 7, another 7. 4 plus 8 is 12, so that's 2 there and 1 here. 1 plus 9 is 10, so 0 and 1, and then a 3. Okay, so now here's where I deal with the decimals. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put a decimal after my answer here. And then I need to move it the number of spaces that there are in the original problem. So 1, 9, and 7. So there were 3 decimal or digits in decimal place values in my original problem. So I have to move this 1, 2, 3 spaces and put it right in between the 0 and the 2. So the final answer here would be 30.277. When I was reviewing this problem just a second ago, I realized I made a mistake. I didn't multiply wrong. What I did was I added wrong. I did 9 plus 2 as 7. That's 9 minus 2. So I'm going to go back and kind of erase this and kind of fix that. So 9 plus 2 is 11. So that would be 1 and regrouped here. Then 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 8 is 13. So that would be a 3. Then this one would get regrouped, making it 10, and then 3. So I added those partial products incorrectly. But the same, I would still move it 3 spaces to the left, and it would still be in between the 30 and the 317. So I'm going to change this answer to, I'm going to erase these and change it to 30 and 317. Okay, here is our next one. We're going to take 3.6 and multiply it by 92.3. Okay, so again, we're going to ignore those decimals, but the number I want to put on the top is going to be the number that has the most digits. So the 92.3 has 3 digits and 3.6 has 2. So I'm going to remove the decimal and put 92.3, removing the decimal, making it 923 on top. Then on the bottom, I'm going to put the 36. Okay, so 3 times 6 is 18. So I'd put an 8 here and regroup the 1. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So a 3 here and a 1 here. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 1 is 55. So 55 here. Now I'm going to cross off these little regrouped ones, cross off the 6, and add a 0 down here to show that now I'm multiplying by a number that's in the tens place. 3 times 3 is 9. So I'll go ahead and put that there. 2 times 3 is 6. And 9 times 3 is 27. So 7 here. And normally I'd regroup the 2, but there's no more places to regroup it to. So I'm just going to put it right here. Okay. Now we are going to do 8 plus 0, which is 8. 3 plus 9, which is 12. Regroup the 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12 again. Regroup the 1. 5 plus 7 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. And then 1 plus 2 is 3. So we get 3, 3, 2, 2, 8. Okay, now we need to deal with the decimal. So I'm going to come over here and put a decimal after my multiplied answer. And now I'm going to go see how many places I need to move that decimal. So since my original problem had two digits that were in decimal place values when we started, I need to move this 2 spaces to the left and put it right in between the two twos. So my final answer would be 332.28. Okay, here is our last problem for today's video. What we're going to do is we're going to be multiplying 0.98 times 3.4. So again, we're going to remove those decimals for now. Instead of 0.98, we're going to do 98 on the top. And instead of 3.4, we're going to do 34 right here. So we're going to go ahead and multiply those first. 8 times 4 is 32, so I'll put a 2 here and regroup that 3. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 3 would be 39. So that's my first row. I'm going to cross off this little regrouped number, cross off the 4 because I'm done multiplying by that, and add a 0 to show that now I'm multiplying by a 3, which is in the tens place. 8 times 3 is 24, so I put the 4 here and regroup the 2. 9 times 3 is 27, plus 2 would be 29. So a 9 here and a 2 here. Now I'm going to go ahead and add those up. 2 plus 0 is 2. 9 plus 4 is 13. 9 plus 3 is 12. Plus another one would be 13 again. And then 1 plus 2 is 3. Lots of 3's in that answer. 3,332. Now I have to deal with the decimals. So I'm going to go ahead and put a decimal after my multiplied answer and go back and count how many digits were in a decimal place value at the start of my problem. I count 1, 2, 3 numbers that were in decimal place values. So that means I need to move this decimal 1, 2, 3 spaces. So it's going to go in between those first two threes. Our final answer would be 3.332. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you in another video soon.